Hello and welcome to the conversation. We are reaching you live from Kaftan's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Anambra Oji. Now, Anambra High Court has ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to recognize Ugochukwu UBA as the People's Democratic Party's PDP candidate for the governorship poll in the state. The presiding judge, Obiora Nwabunike, gave the order in his judgment on the matter instituted by Mr. UBA against INEC, PDP and Valentine Ozigbo as defendants. Mr. Nwabunike also awarded 10 million naira damages in favor of the plaintiff as cost of litigation. Mr. Uba, a former senator, had approached the court in suit number A/230/2021 to determine if the primary elections conducted by the National Executive of PDP at the Dora Akoyile's Women Development Center on 26th June was done according to the law. Now, he also sought the determination of the court on whether an Abuja High Court order on a suit by one Samuel Onyakora against PDP, bordering on the validity of the process that produced the party's factional state chairman Ndubisi Nwobu, had been set aside or stayed. He also prayed the court to determine if the process of the primary, which produced Mr. Ozigbo through superdelegates, was in line with the provisions of the Electoral Act, which states the primary elections will be done through delegate Congress. Mr. Nwabunike said that the court order which restrained PDP from conducting the primary elections had neither been stayed nor set aside. He also, although PDP had its constitutional and national executive, both could not be above the order of the court. He further said that the party had not successfully vacated the extant orders before conducting the primary. Now, I'm sure you know where this conversation is headed, but if you don't, then you might just as well grab a chair and a glass of water or fresh juice, as I will be letting the cat out of the bag momentarily after this timeout. Join us again.
Wait! I can explain. Of course I can. I'm the explainer.
Since the dawn of time, man has strived to understand and make sense of everything around him. It's an age-long struggle that seems unlikely to ever end. Alas, a brave young man took the mantle upon himself and set on a path to become the world's greatest explainer. Having scrutinized the rapid rise of the viral app TikTok and tackling the complexities of racism, the explainer shone a spotlight on the Nigerian movie industry, Nollywood. He went on to provide a necessary update on the coronavirus pandemic with the help of his trusted AI, Marvis.
Be a part of the show by telling us what word you would like us to explain next. Head on down to our website, www.kaftan.tv, or any of our social media pages. Follow us, then leave us a comment using the hashtag #TheExplainer, telling us what word you'd like us to explain next.
Glad to have you back. If you just joined us, this is the conversation. We're reaching you live from Kaftan's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. And now I have my guest here in the studio is Senator Ugochukwu UBA, PDP factional flag bearer for Anambra State Governorship Election 2021. You're welcome to the show.
You're welcome.
All right, then let's start this conversation by getting close and personal with you. Now, who is Senator Ugochukwu UBA? Tell us what we don't know or what we cannot find on Google or in any media tabloid.
Well, I must start by correcting the impression. I'm not a factional flag bearer. I'm the authentic candidate of PDP.
Okay.
The court has so pronounced.
So sorry about that.
And at the course of our discussion, we can look into the background.
Okay.
What led to seemingly crisis in PDP, which was resolved by the court yesterday.
Okay.
You know, through his judgment, stating clearly that I'm the authentic candidate following the primary that was conducted at St. Paul's, Awka.
Okay.
So I needed to correct that.
Okay. Corrected.
Now,
Noted.
who is
Senator Ugochukwu UBA?
Well, Ugochukwu UBA is first and foremost an academia. Started my working life as a lecturer at the University of Nigeria, from where I went on secondment to the then government of old Anambra State as a special assistant. When the new Anambra was created, I came back to the new Anambra as executive assistant, finally served as Director General under two administrations, eventually served as Commissioner in two ministries, was now elected to the Senate. After serving in the Senate, I went back to the University of Abuja, where I'm lecturing, from where I now resigned to come and run for office of the governor of Anambra State, because I felt I have something to offer to the state, you know. So basically, this is where I am. Or if you talk about my other background, I started my school in Port Harcourt, you know, from Port Harcourt to Government College Umuahia, Stella Maris, then Government College Umuahia, you know. From there on to the university, in Canada, studied at University of Nigeria, University in Canada, Carleton University, where I did my first degree in political science with a first class. Then did my master's in the same university. Then moved now to Queen's University, Canada, where I did my PhD. After which I came back and started lecturing at the University of Nigeria. From there to the public service.
Okay.
This is basically who I am.
Oh wow. All right. Thank you for walking us through that. Now, you were born 72 years ago, precisely on the 22nd of May 1949. Now, can you share with us the circumstances surrounding your birth into the Uba's family?
Well, basically, I'm the first child of the Uba family.
Okay.
The first boy of the Uba family, and the eldest of all the boys in the Uba family. There are basically three of us, Andy, Chris, and myself, but I'm the oldest among them.
Okay.
And so I was born like any other child into the Uba family.
Okay.
Basically, I was born in Enugu when my parents were living there. From there, my father went on transfer to Port Harcourt. And we lived in Port Harcourt all through until the Civil War, when we now left Port Harcourt, back to Anambra. So back to, it was the same eastern region then, back to our own part of the country.
Okay.
You know?
All right, now, with the introduction that you've given us, you're a trained political scientist, specializing in public administration, and you also have local government administration and comparative government from various universities, both home and abroad. Now, even also a lion from the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. Why did you choose political science as a course? What actually inspired that choice?
Well, I've had, as a child, I've had a lot of interest in politics. I've been somebody who is interested in finding out what is going on, what is happening around me, what is happening in my environment. And secondly, I had an alumni of my secondary school who visited us, who had a PhD in international relations, lectured with our class. I got interested in that, and I kept on telling my classmates that I'm going to do a PhD in political science.
Okay.
Right from secondary school, I made up, that had been of great interest to me. Then I was talking about majoring in international relations.
Oh, okay.
Now, but as I grew in the discipline, my interest now shifted to public policy analysis, and that is where I now anchored comparative government, and then local government administration, which has been a serious, suffering a serious deficit in Nigeria. You know, and I hope, with by grace of God, if I'm elected the governor of Anambra State, my first assignment will be to tackle the local government administration and put it where I should be. Because basically countries that have a dysfunctional local government administration are not going anywhere. It's the key. It's the foundation of government. And all the problem we are having is because our local government system is comatose. So just like building a house, once you don't have a strong foundation, you are standing the house on nothing. With any wind is going to, but if our local government system is solid and doing what they are supposed to do, then most of the problems we are suffering now will be minimized. You know, infrastructural development, unemployment, all these things are, but you know, so the problem we have even in our health and the primary health care and what have you, is because we don't have a local government system that are functioning. You know, security. You know, local government is also involved in that. Once you have a functional local government, all these things will be addressed.
Okay.
You know, you start from there, and then you can give it to the state, and the pressure on the state will be reduced.
Okay.
Right? And the pressure on the federal government will equally be reduced. So you need to learn to do the right thing.
Okay, doing the right thing. We'll definitely come back to the deficit you talked about in the local government during the course of this conversation. Now let's still get up close and personal with you. Now your master's and doctorate degree was at the Queen's University in United Kingdom.
No. In Canada.
In Canada, sorry, I beg your pardon. So now, how would you compare the education system abroad and what we have down here in Nigeria?
Well, at the time I went to school abroad, it was basically the same. Unfortunately, it's now deteriorating on this side.
Oh, really?
Right? You know, the standard when I left Nigeria, we are losing nothing. The standard is almost at par. You know, when I left University of Nigeria to Carter University in Ottawa, I lost nothing. And I was able to come out with a first class coming from Nigeria, so we lose nothing. University of Nigeria, University of Ibadan, these are comparative university to any university anywhere in the world. It's unfortunate what is happening now. You know, there's no way you can measure the standards. When I tell students the type of setting under which we went to university in Nigeria, they don't believe it. They think it's a fairy tale. But it was the same thing. You know, our standards were high. The academic staff with coming from various nations of the world. You know, you have Americans, you have Britons, you have Indians, you have, it's a citadel of learning. Okay. And therefore you can float and excel anywhere you find yourself. And our degrees and we are highly rated everywhere in the world. Our doctors that left here for Canada or to US or to Ghana, we are selling. Most of these doctors we are talking about that are selling in the US and Canada, we are Nigerian trained. The other trained at the Bible, So we need to go back to the drawing board and take our educational system to where it's supposed to be. So
where did that deficit actually come from? What is that space that brought in this lacuna in the education sector? Because now you have you telling us that you told your students exactly, but then you still find that even up until now, you still have that deficit. What exactly is the problem here?
It's an issue of policy and priority. And any nation whose educational system is in a state in which we find it in Nigeria, it's in trouble. Education is the key. I tell my graduate students, it's the key. But once it doesn't necessarily also mean that once you have a degree, you must have a job. But if you are given the requisite background and training, that's anything you can do in the world with a degree. You can even set up a mechanic workshop. with a degree. The basic education is what gives you the foundation to thrive in society. But when you start neglecting it, forgetting is the main building block for development, and you consign it to the background. They talk about ASU strike and things. You know, the public don't even understand why ASU do what they do. You know, they are doing it but in the interest of the society.
Well, a lot of people will not agree with that.
No, they won't. But me, I've been in both sides. So I can understand. I've been in government. I also, incidentally, I was the secretary of academic staff in university, my university, when I was at university, lecturer at the University of Nigeria for almost 5 years.
Okay.
And yes, I was the secretary. And I also from there, I also served in government. So I understand what they're saying. You know, under what condition will you train students when the classrooms are packed? No space, no chair. No, what type of gadgets are you producing? So the point is that we need to do what we have to do. And this is also paramount in my mind. You know, if by the grace of God I have the opportunity to go on Anambra, education is also going to be a priority. You know, because we need that for any society to move anywhere. You know, because when you don't have it, you are in trouble, serious trouble. You know, so when people are talking about education, that Nigeria educational system is collapsing, and that's why, you know,
you have medical tourism, you have a lot of
exactly. Ibadan used to be a center of medical tourism. Anybody can tell you. People who are coming from Saudi Arabia and all these places to come to Ibadan to come and receive treatment. So what happened? You know, instead of building and solidifying it, the thing is going down the drain. So we need to wake it up again.
Okay.
In the interest of our society. We have what it takes. Nigeria has what it takes to be a first-class nation. All these countries we have about Singapore, Malaysia, we are way better than them in the 60s. So what happened? And they now move from third world to first world. And we are still moving between third world and fourth world. You know, so we must move. And that's why one of the things that propelled my interest in wanting to come into government, because I feel I can make a difference.
Okay, now with what you just said, you said you need to do what you're supposed to do. That's one line I picked from what you just said. Now, as a first class trained political scientist, what did you do differently in that sphere?
Well, in what sphere?
In that politics, when you were serving as a public servant, or even during your time in office?
Yeah, I did a lot.
Even as a senator?
I did a lot. I started, you know, my first venture into government was as a special assistant in the then old Anambra State.
Okay.
Comprising Enugu, Anambra, and Ebonyi. Then under a military administration. And I played a major role in policy formulation. I remember each time I go back to the campus during the weekend, my colleagues will say, UB, what are you doing with these people? I'm there to minimize the damage. What is the damage? Policy direction. If I feel that they are not moving in the right way, I try to direct them. They're calling him to the Anambra State. I played a major role. After the creation of states, we were now, rather than going back to university, we advised the administrator in the government of the Enugu State now, also pleaded with us to follow the administrator to Anambra to help him to set up Anambra. That's how I now moved as executive assistant to the then first military administrator, Abu.
Okay.
You know, so we went there and we are there to make sure that things are properly done. You know. But incidentally, I was there for 3 years. When he left the civil administration under Dr. Zife came in, I was now also asked again to stay back because I was on secondment, so I can move back. I was now asked again to stay back and help us set up under that administration. I was made director general in charge of public utilities, and we are busy trying to get things done, master plan and all these things. Abacha came.
Okay.
And they did last. And they moved. And I was also getting that when the new Governor Colonel Atta, who took over from the Ezife after the coup, asked me to stay back. Now move me to finance, as Director General in charge of finance. So I operated from that realm, and as along the line, I was approached again and said, why don't you come and follow into politics? That will bring the transition, Abacha transition, right?
Okay.
I was now asked to be the only female governorship candidate then was Senator Ugochukwu UBA. He was running to be the governor of Anambra State.
Okay.
Now we have conducted the state assembly election. My party cleared all the seats. We conducted the National Assembly. We cleared that. We are now going to have the governorship on the eve of the governorship election. Abacha died. And we started a new transition. That was when PDP was formed. And I was a founding member of PDP as a convener of PDP. We started, ran the election. I was now made a commissioner. I served as commissioner for the period, first as pioneer commissioner of youth and sports, now commissioner for agriculture.
Okay. Then,
after I finished serving as commissioner in 2003, I was now elected to the Senate as a senator. And in the Senate, I made a lot of impact. That's a number of things. But the more critical one was NIMASA. Because I was the chairman of Senior Committee on Marine Transport.
Okay.
Right? And I made sure that institution was organized, a law passed, and set it up the way it is today. It's my doing. But I'm not a noisemaker. I don't go around saying, I've done that, I've done that, I've done that. I just diligently do my job.
Okay, so do you think that NIMASA, that organization is still on that trajectory that you left behind? Still, you blaze the trail, like you just said. Do you think that they're still following that legacy that you left behind?
Some years back, I was now called back as the chairman of the Inter-Ministerial Committee to look into the implementation of cabotage law in Nigeria under the then Minister of State for Transport.
Okay.
We had the opportunity to look into every aspect of what they are doing, and they really didn't do badly. But I now had the opportunity now to go in there to say, are they still? But the law we put in place is what is guiding it up to today. Okay. I have not had the opportunity to move in there to say how are they doing, but I know that imprint is still there, because there's no way you can write the history of NIMASA without remembering Senator Ugochukwu UBA, the chairman of Senior Committee of Marine Transport.
All right, then let's go back to your profession as a lecturer in the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. Now, in the early 80s, then you became the lecturer at that university. What was your motivation to choose lecturing as a profession at that time?
Well, those days, when you graduate from university, right, the issue of unemployment was not an issue. So graduates, when they graduate, those who made first class and second class upper, no matter the amount of job you give them, they are waiting for the university to select those they want to retain, to build a career. That was the foremost business. So lecturers and professors were role models for brilliant students. These are girls who run away from the university and don't want to go. These are role models. So both of us, all of us, we are looking forward. We see them as role models and see the contribution they are making in society.
Okay.
And we look forward to that. The issue of money, making money, or not making money. That's what the idea. So when we now have this type of role models, your whole focus is to get a PhD and come back and contribute in research, and in building society. some of the lecturers, they were very, very prominent in every aspect of a society. They were involved in, policy panels, for the government and doing all sorts of things, So these are the people that interest us. We look forward to such people. We don't look forward to billionaires or this. Those we look for these academics who are making tremendous input into society.
Okay.
But those things are changing now, but we will have to restore it, and that's how society grew.
Okay. And then in 1987, you left lecturing job to start a private consulting firm. So what exactly prompted that?
I was still in public service. When I started setting up a consulting firm is after I left the Senate.
Okay.
Right? And then from there on, I now also decided when I was doing that, and I decided to move back into academic, because that's my primary consultancy. I enjoy lecturing, I enjoy interacting with students. Recently at the University of Abuja, I just produced a PhD where I just defended a thesis, which gives me, this is the type of thing that gives me joy.
Okay.
I like doing things like that. But I feel that I can serve the society more, if I have an executive power and do the things I feel I have to do to transform the society.
Okay.
I'm not happy when I look around and see what is going around me. But I also feel we can do better.
Okay.
Because we have what it takes. Nigerians excel everywhere they find themselves. Why can't we excel here?
All right, then in your youthful age, you became the commissioner and then later a director general in one of the government parastatals in Anambra State. So what were your achievements serving in Anambra State, serving your people as a youth?
I told you now. I was trying to set up the rush utilities, rural electrification, and we had a whole bunch of things I was doing as a DG publicity. I had to do with water supply,
okay,
rural electrification, rural roads, and agriculture, within the rural setting, selling seedlings and things we prepared to do them, totally mapped out.
Okay.
But suddenly, but when I was in finance, I also did quite a lot. I ended up as a company called Central Investment Company, owned by Enugu State and Anambra State. I was the chairman of that company, and I tried to use it to build up the investment, of the two states. But during the sharing, I was the one who insisted that this company should not be shared. Let's retain it. At the end time, we now get a dividend. But some people felt strongly, share. And they did, and the company is dead. So that things I felt we could have done differently. But but as a commissioner, final commissioner for youth and sports, we mapped out a number of things. We had to start up a stadium. We were trying to build up a golf course and things like that. When I was moved from the ministry, it's out of my purview. And I went into agriculture. And you can go and ask, what I was able to do in extension services and things we did to be able to build the place. So I basically served Anambra in some capacity, even the federal government. I was the staff of the Center for Democratic Studies during the Babangida transition, where we are training politicians. Those days, when you elect them, they come for training. I was in that school. We are training in Abuja here with Professor Nwabunike as the Director General. So I don't need to keep recounting. There are so many things I've done. You can see that, I'm not going to learn on the job.
All right.
You can give me an opportunity. The worst thing that can happen for anyone is to be learning on the job. I'm not going there to learn.
All right, then.
I'm focused. I know what I want to do. And if I get the opportunity, the difference will be clear.
All right, very well then. Let's go on a very quick break. And when we return, the conversation continues with Senator Ugochukwu UBA. Stay tuned.
Wait! I can explain. Of course I can. I'm the explainer.
Since the dawn of time, man has strived to understand and make sense of everything around him. It's an age-long struggle that seems unlikely to ever end. Alas, a brave young man took the mantle upon himself and set on a path to become the world's greatest explainer. Having scrutinized the rapid rise of the viral app TikTok and tackling the complexities of racism, the explainer shone a spotlight on the Nigerian movie industry, Nollywood. He went on to provide a necessary update on the coronavirus pandemic with the help of his trusted AI, Marvis.
Be a part of the show by telling us what word you would like us to explain next. Head on down to our website, www.kaftan.tv, or any of our social media pages. Follow us, then leave us a comment using the hashtag #TheExplainer, telling us what word you'd like us to explain next.
Glad to have you back. If you just joined us, this is the conversation. We are reaching you live from Kaftan's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. And I still have my guest here in the studio, Senator Ugochukwu UBA, who is the governorship aspirant for Anambra State election. Candidate for Anambra State election 2021. All right. Now, before we went on that break, we were talking about your achievements during when you were in office with the Anambra State people. Now, becoming a senator under the People's Democratic Party, PDP, the platforms, which you actually said that you were one of the flag bearers, you were one of the founding fathers of the PDP, what will you say what will be your judgment of the internal party management, what you have done and what you have now in the PDP? How far so far?
Well, I will say that when the party started, there was a lot of enthusiasm and determination to make a difference. And if you look at those who were at the helm of the party at that time, Dr. Lesekweme, Solomon La, and the rest of them, these are people who moved from G34 to form this party. So they were determined to see that there's a difference between what they're setting up and what was happening under the military establishment. So people were concerned and making sure that due processes were followed in everything they are doing, because most of the issues we talk about internal party crisis are avoidable crises.
Okay.
These crises don't need to be there. I'm telling you, sincerity. Just do what the book stated. Follow the due process. And once you follow the due process, everybody will see that what you are doing is correct and is right. And there will be no reason for complaint. But even if you complain, it won't get you anywhere. But when we allow certain level of deviation from the due process, it creates alienation, it creates strife, it creates injustice, and people tend to react to it. So that the point I'm making is that internal party crisis we talk about is avoidable. In the other crimes where most of us have been to, some things are minimal, because the things are stated and they do the way they should go. But I know we get there gradually when people start realizing that people are wiser now, they know what their rights are, and they pursue it. Then people will start following due process, because once you follow due process, whatever you do becomes transparent. Even the person who wants to complain will not have any room to complain. Why do people congratulate an opponent when he wins? You congratulate an opponent when he wins because you saw that it was transparent. That nothing you could have done about it. Even if you are doing all but when there's signs that there were manipulation here and there, the tendency is for you to say, no, I've not been. But I feel we'll get over it with time.
Okay, let me ask you a personal question. Now, if you talk about diversion and then for people not following due process, now with this gale of defection that you see happening in some parties, because now you talked about how it happens in other climes, now where you have someone who is a Democrat stays there because he believes in the ideology, and whoever that stays as a Republican stays there because he believes in the ideology. Now that you see with all of this gale of defection that you see happening in our Nigerian politics, what say you to this?
Fundamentally, our parties don't have ideology. The ideological basis of our parties are weak, right? That's why it's easy for somebody to move from one to the other and fit in, right? But where there is ideological differences, like when we talk about America using for the Republicans and the Democrats believes in big government. And believe that government should be involved in a number of things and welfare programs and things. The Republicans believe that private sector, government should build environment and allow the private sector to do their thing. There's a ideological divide. So somebody who believes strongly that government should be involved in it, we find it difficult, to fit in. But where there is no, the ideological base is weak. That's what I call it. Not that they don't have ideology. My point would be that they surely have identical ideology, but that's why I can move from one to the other. But the way it is now, we must start working towards ensure that there's, no matter how small, there's ideological difference. Me, I have not shifted one bit from PDP because I believe, on the ideology of the party, even though it has not clearly been imbibed by his members, in terms of shifting to a social welfare direction. Remember during the formation of the NRC and the SDP, right? There was when government formed the party in Nigeria. We had a two-party structure. And now the then chairman of INEC, Professor Humphrey is a little to the right and a little to the left. So SDP was a little to the left, while NRC was a little to the right. I mean, there's some ideological way you fit in, those who go to the left usually will believe in big government, right? The government involvement in various aspects. Those on the right, have the Republican spirit that said, build environment, let government do it, and let the private sector do their thing.
Okay.
So we should gravitate towards that stage. That's really when we start making this attempt to have a one-party state will not help us. I'm telling you, if everybody gravitate, like I see movement from one party, everybody is gravitating into a particular party. By the time we all leave, assuming the PDP now collapse into APC. It will serve the nation. You need certain level of opposition to govern well. Anybody, even as an individual, if people around you are telling you only what you want to hear, you won't make a good leader. It's a jump, it's a high. But some people can say, you can't jump. Let's work. It's better to work than to jump. You may get angry for a while, but eventually when you start working, that's
a gentleman agreement.
Exactly. So we don't need that type of. It's very critical and very important that we work towards harmony, and reducing intra-party crisis. Like I said, very simple. If I run a political party, I will make sure that due processes are followed. We are individuals, we can make mistakes, but it doesn't have to be a deliberate mistake. It's when you make a deliberate mistake, people feel, when people feel a sense of injustice, the tendency is for them to try to resist it.
All right then. When we started the conversation, you were trying to walk us through on what happened on the 21st of June 2020 when you were elected as the fractional PDP flag bearer for the Anambra State.
26. Not the fractional.
You said you were going to walk us through how. Okay, please walk us through how it all started and what is the process right now?
It's simple. the crisis we were having in Anambra started as far back as 2017 when we held our congresses, right? During that congress, we elected ward executives, after which we elected local government executives. When it came to the election of state executive, there was problem of the proper delegates to do that. They feel that there were manipulation of the list and things that led to some crisis, and which brought in the commissioner of police and the director of SSS and whatever. It was resolved that the state executive election should be postponed, and that was why during the 2017 convention in Abuja, where we elected our national officers, PDP Anambra state executive did not attend because they had no executive, right? So when the new administration working committee came in, they decided to look into the matter.
Okay.
And they discovered that yes, the ward executives were elected. 2, the local government executives were elected. 3, that there were no state executive election. So they now decided to set up a caretaker committee at the state level.
Okay.
Which they did. Having set up the committee, they now moved on to inaugurate them. Inaugurated the ward, inaugurated the local government, and inaugurated the caretaker.
Okay.
Now, along the line, the caretaker, state caretaker executive, now we're no longer working with the ward and local government executive that we are inaugurating with them. They started ignoring them. By the time they formed a parallel ward and local government executive. But this was when we are recognized, inaugurated, started protesting. They now protested to the working committee, said, we are abandoned, we are not being used. This is suddenly nobody calls us for meeting, nobody calls us for this, suddenly we are using this one. The national, to be fair to them, tried to look into it. But along the line, I don't know what happened there. Their interests maybe were no longer there, no matter what was happening. When these people found that nobody is looking into their matter, they went to court. So the matter was now in court. And to cut the long story short, by the 9th of June, the matter was resolved. The court gave judgment and said, yes, you are the true ward executives. You are the true local government executives, right? The caretaker you put there, can no longer stay there. But rather the caretaker that was there, when these elections were held, should go back and monitor and midwife any other election that could be held, right? And if you are going to hold any election, Congress or whatever, make sure you use this ward and local government executives.
Okay.
That was the judgment. So the issue that they should not hold primary or hold is not to say use the right list.
Okay.
Use the right delegates, right? These are the right delegates. So whatever you are going to do, through my findings, I discovered that these are the right delegates. So whatever you will do, elections or whatever, use them, right? That was the judgment of the court, city court. Now, what did the PDP rather do what the judgment said by saying that use these people that are the right people? They say you go ahead and do your primary, but this people you have elected and inaugurated on your own. Why do you not dealing with an illegal decision? Use these people, right? So rather than do that, the judgment was given on the 9th of June. So we had a 3-man delegate election on the 10th. Rather than now go and take that list which you already have and go and do they let them and wait and continue with what that they ignored the court judgment. Right? And they did not even stop there. The state executive issued a press statement and said there is no substance in the judgment, and that the judgment is not worth the tissue or whatever, right? Okay. And continue what they were doing. And after a while, I think it dawned on them that maybe we are doing the wrong thing. So they now went back to court, to the judge, and said, please, can you give us a stay on your judgment so that we can, he says stay. How dare you? You are breaking all the contentious of the court, and you came back to ask us for a stay. I will not give you a stay. But moreover, all you have done since the judgment is nullified.
Okay.
It's null and void. You should not go ahead. Go and use the correct list, what you've been told to do. Right? So rather than do that, they said they were using what they call super delegates. They gathered a number, randomly selected 196 people, and said then other members of PDP from the national and from every other space who felt strongly that the court decision is the right thing to do. Now decided we have to go ahead and follow what the court said and do it. But even more importantly, the party was even advised by INEC. They wrote them a letter on the 22nd of June. Please obey this judgment. INEC was advising, obey this judgment. So in spite of that, so those who feel that they should obey the judgment of the court and take advice of INEC. But more importantly, the Constitution of PDP, Section 25, subsection 1, said who will constitute the Congress of the state to elect a governor, a governorship candidate. They stated in there 18 categories of people, and it's the chairman, the state chairman, that will convoke it, and there's a state chairman that will be recognized by the court. So all these things were in place. So the people who now came for the primary, including those from the national and whatever, who are the primary impeachment, were those who were obeying the judgment of the court. They were adhering to the constitution of PDP, and they were listening to the advice of INEC. Right? And so that's at the primary in which I emerged. Okay. Now, the other one, and we finished by 5 o'clock, we were through. And then about 9 p.m. we started hearing there's something going on. They are trying to elect this thing. And and incidentally, what happened at the end of that, the person who won got 62 votes. Who elects a governorship candidate with 62 votes in a party like PDP? Where you a delegate respected over 3,000. And they used 62 people to elect. So following that, when we got to court said, no, this is the only Congress that was held because they followed the constitution of the party, the judgment of the State High Court, and the advice given by INEC. Okay. Whatever you people did is of no consequence to the in the eyes of the law. Okay. So that's why I keep saying the issue of factional. Okay. It has been determined yesterday afternoon. Okay, so very quickly, now that you having won the case, your case on the basis of law against the interest of your party, now what steps are you taking to reconcile all your members of the PDP in Anambra ahead of the governorship elections as from November 6th? I have to correct that impression. It's not against interest of the party, because members of the party, the bulk of them, believe that what you did was the right thing to do. Right? Okay. And so we are working in the interest of the party. Oh, really? We want the party to win. We want the party not to have any problem. So that at the end of the day, and if you get them to Anambra, this division people are talking about is not there. It's at this level where we are discussing. People at the grassroots know where they belong, they know what is correct, they know the position of the party. You know, Anambra is a PDP state. From time. So forget that we have another governor. But if you look at the membership of the National Assembly, out of the 3 senators, we have 2. If you go to the House of Rep, we have the majority of people there. So for you to do that shows that you have quite substantial influence in the environment. Okay. So PDP has always been there, and everybody is working towards the success of PDP. And the issue of reconciliation, we're also going to move out to make sure that we bring everybody on board, because PDP is determined to win the governorship this time.
Even as we begin to round up this conversation now, now that you are 72, and with all of your experience and wisdom that you've shared with us, if you were given the opportunity to run to become the governor of Anambra State, maybe twice, hopefully, that by then you should be 80. So do you think that you have...
80.
That's if you have like 4 to 4 years. So do you think that you have the strength to carry on? That's one. 2 questions in one. Then the second one is, you'll be drawing a dagger against your younger brother, Senator Andy Uba of the APC in the election now. Don't you think that the Uba family might be divided against itself and winning will be a hard nut to crack?
No, I don't think so. First of all, I've had the opportunity to answer this question before. There's not anything wrong in 2 members of the family having an ambition. You know, it's not a problem, and the Uba family is not the first place where this type of thing has occurred. You know, there are many places. I don't need to. I keep mentioning them. I don't need to mention them now, but it's not. I don't see it as a problem. Okay. In terms of the other one, you can see me. The strength is there. You know, experience counts. You know, when you don't have experience and you start learning on the job, it's very problematic. You know, you can see what happened in the United States. You know, Trump came, had not had any public service experience. You know, he virtually turned everything upside down, right? Now they have a new president, Democrat, who had 47 years experience in the public service. Look at what is happening there. The whole world is celebrating. Europe is celebrating. You know, when we came back, America is back. There was celebration all over the place. And when you get to US now, you find that the difference, they're trying to repair all sorts of damages that occurred during that period. When somebody, because this idea of I'm from the public sector, I'm from the private sector, I go into government and I go and apply it doesn't work. Government job is a different type of job. Complex complexities. So if you don't have the experience, you know, and the background and the exposure, you're going to behave recklessly, and the consequences are very enormous.
Thank you so much.
I'm assuring you that.
Thank you so much.
In India, I assure you, when you come to Anambra, you will see that the difference is clear.
All right.
Where are you from? Are you from? Where are you from?
I'm from Imo State.
Okay, you'll be jealous of me.
We'll share all the best, because I'm very sure you made that right now. All the best to you. All right, I've been chatting with Senator Ugochukwu UBA, who is the governorship candidate for Anambra State elections. And it's been a wonderful time here on The Conversation. How time flies when you discuss serious matters that concerns our very own country, Nigeria. I'll see you again next time. From the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Annabelle Oji.